Hey David, thanks for your email. I just wanted to make a few comments, and I do fully respect and agree with you in most of what you've written here. I really didn't want to pull you into this, and I'm not pulling you into this thing really. Um, who wants to pull someone into an acrimonious divorce or anything like that? As you yourself wrote, you don't know any details, and I haven't provided them. I have, written very concise and to the point summary for Stefan's wife and his legal partner, who's a convicted felon, by the way. When they asked me, what had transpired. But and I don't want to pull you into this. That's not really the point. But just to give you a little understanding, I guess I just wanted someone to hear this. Having been a story editor on Law and Order, you probably recall several episodes. I've seen Mariska would tell victims that it's not a matter of winning a court case or getting, bringing someone to justice in that sense, so much as just having a witness, having a jury hear your account, having witnessed what that's the main objective. And I think that's a little bit what one of the reasons why I wanted you to hear this, having written a book about Stefan, knowing him very well, and me, and having traveled to the Sudan and been a bit a part of the company that I built up with him. But there's also another aspect to this, and that is, as you point out, your thank you for your advice. That we should just move on. I just want to clarify to you that's exactly what I did do. It wasn't easy. What I did was I ditched the guy more than 4 years ago. If anyone's having trouble moving on, it's Stefan. He still has a website up with my name and picture on it. He somehow thinks I'm going to take him back, and I'm not gonna. I ditched him for a very real reason, and I don't want to pull you into this, but you need to understand, he was planning a murder. He was planning to bring in weapons from over the Norwegian border and was going to kill a loan shark. He was going to murder the guy. I just couldn't be a part of that. I had to sit down and really, really look long and hard. How on earth did I get into this? I mean, I spent 6 years building up a company with that guy. He was a humanitarian. When I met him, he was in Indonesia doing what I thought were great things. And 6 years later, he was planning to kill a guy. And it wasn't the first time he was talking about this. And I realized the guy's just come unhinged. Not just come unhinged, I mean, he was unhinged. And moving on, and with all due respect, you also got to really examine yourself. I had to examine myself. How did this happen, and how did I let myself get into this mess? And I had to extricate myself, and which I did. I take full responsibility for doing so. And I'm not going to waste your time, energy, explaining all that to you, or psychoanalyzing Stefan and his personality disorder, his splitting, and his sociopathy, or all the details about all the people he burned and ripped off and reneged agreements and so on. The thing is this, I told him, look, you just leave me alone. Just take off. Okay, you can keep everything. Keep the translation agency, keep the trading company, the dealership, the mining licenses. Just fuck off and leave me alone. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. You're sick. I didn't even say it that. I said it very diplomatically. I did say you. I don't think I used the word damaged goods. I mean, I think he took it very badly, yes. I insinuated that he was not right in the head. I that's exactly the phrase I used. You're not right in the head in an email, because I felt that he at least deserved an explanation. He was begging for more money, and he'd been he'd been taking so many of my commissions, misappropriating so much money that it had to end. And it just came to a point where I just said no, goodbye. And I told him, you can keep everything, just sort out shit with a loan shark, and he owed a lot of people money. And I understood that I wasn't going to recoup money that he owed me. And this isn't really a plan I have. That's not the point, David. The thing is that he ended up sticking me with having to pay this fucking loan shark off. I signed for his loan. He used all the money himself entirely, spent it on vacations and shit. He didn't spend any of it building up the company. He really didn't. I ended up paying this shit. I just couldn't risk getting killed. And I didn't want to risk having him going in, killing other people, and being embroiled in some big turf war. Not turf war, some gang war shit. It's just, I had to get out of there. But why 4 years later, 3.5 years, 3 years later, had to pay his fucking debts? And after doing so, he could have helped. He agreed to help. He sheepishly apologized and promised he was going to write... Okay, I'm not going to bore you with the details. And then he just takes off. So I'm forced to pay the whole thing myself. Couldn't even get a piece of paper that he was going to pay something back to me or in due course. How the fuck was I going to raise $81,000? I got 4 fucking kids. It was not easy. It was extremely difficult. I had to do that all on my own. And on top of that, just my accountant just said, well, hey, both to Stefan, to Elena, and his accountant, could you just sign a piece of paper that Adrian has paid this? He couldn't even do that. I mean, this is adding insult to injury. That's why I sent this New Year's greeting telling him calling him a fucking leech and telling him to put a gun in his mouth and blowing his brains out, and so getting an insurance policy and having it you the beneficiary. Because you can sign anyway. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's not at all a plan, David. I mean, it was something that it was said at the spur of the moment. And on the other hand, I mean, yeah, I do honestly believe that that's the only way he's ever going to make good on these debts. Because quite frankly, he can't make money. This guy is he's lazy and he's dumb. I mean, he's got this reverse Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to shit. It really does. It was incredible. It was astounding to see. No matter how much business I drummed up, no matter how much I worked up, built up the translation agency, he managed to fuck it up. He just didn't bother proofreading stuff that this one guy had done. It was just mind-boggling how he fucked up things in southern Sudan with General Gear. He just fucked up dealership. He fucked up so many things, and it was just getting, legs knocked out from underneath me every single time. Just smashed me up against the rocks. I had to go scrambling for more money. He's constantly in court being sued and evicted. It's just like, how can you burn $100,000 in a few months, you fuck? Anyway, back to this points that you're making here about moving on. I mean, imagine if you wrote a script and you show it to a producer, and the producer steals your script, makes a movie out of it, makes millions of bucks, makes a half-assed job out of it, but also plagiarizes something from someone and pins the blame on you. So you're forced, and they say, oh, well, David Matthews wrote the script, sue him. And then you take responsibility and end up having to pay damages for a script that, yeah, you wrote, but you sure as shit didn't steal that stuff. And on top of that, rather than say thank you, or rather than do something in return, they you get ordered to not list in your on your CV that you had actually written that script. So see what I'm saying? You know, adding insult to injury, sort of. That's what the piece of shit's doing, and you're telling me just to what, bend over and take it in the ass? No. For God's sakes, you're a story editor on Law and Order. That's not what you do. Now, about being your brother's keeper and all that, I mean, that's why you've got jury systems in the U.S. You know, your peers judge you. And this is what I feel is important right now, is that people see what he's done. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but this guy, he's a piece of shit. I walked away and just said, hey, you know, take it. And he fucking makes me pay his bills. I mean, imagine a married couple who, okay, one couple realizes, oh, okay, this guy's an alcoholic, or wife's a gambling addict, and decide, okay, look, you know what, let's just part ways. It's okay, we built the house together, let's sort of, you know, you want to keep building the house, use, fine, you do that, just, I'm leaving. And if that party continues to, like, build our house, but send the fucking bills to their ex, like, wait, you know, you're keeping the whole house that I almost finished building with you, and I'm supposed to keep paying for the lumber and the building permits. Wait a second, where's the logic in that? Well, legally, fuck legality. I mean, there's an ethical and moral standard of some kind. I mean, the gall this guy has, and I have to pay his fucking loans, fucking debts to Loan Shark? It's insane! I understand that I can understand that he didn't repay his debts is one thing, but he couldn't even fucking get on a plane and sort shit out with the people that would mind to. He couldn't pick up the phone and say, hey, leave Adrian alone and I'll let me sort it out. Nothing. I mean, this guy's an absolute fucking sneaky, spineless coward. You fucking wrote a book about this guy, and so I'm informing you what a sack of shit this guy is. And I honestly do believe that the real victim here is Stefan. The criminals don't go to hell. Criminals are already in hell. I mean, their conscience is constantly making them self-sabotage. And this guy's going to implode. He's going to end up getting incarcerated, and one fine day he's just going to end up being that guy with, hanging himself in his shoelaces in a holding cell. That's what's going to happen. And I just think it's much smarter, much wiser to take out an insurance policy and for him to do it now. And at least, something good will come of it. I've built up a number of companies now, and I'm not swimming in money, but I'm doing quite well for myself. And a lot of the victims at least could get compensated, and a lot of humanitarian things can get done. I will get done. He needs to. These are just some thoughts. I know you were a victim of abuse, as was I. I mean, I didn't get stabbed by a fork when I was a kid, but at some point, one has to hold people accountable when they abuse, and Stefan is, without question, an abuser. He is he's a predator, and I'm not going to take it. I'm not interested in, I told him all the way from the start, I'm not litigious. I'm not interested in suing him for over a few $100,000. Fuck that. I'm not interested in pressing criminal charges against him, even though he did commit bank fraud, or in my name, though. He fucking did that. It's only 15 grand, but still, I had to sort that shit out. What's the point? What's the point of there are a lot of real criminal, a lot of people who are victimized. The courts should, I think, be reserved for real victims and not for these kinds of things. And what a lot of these guys here in Sweden and Norway are saying, "Oh, let's sue him. Let's go to IRS. Let's go." You know, I just said, "What for? What's the point? He'll just bankrupt his company. There's just no point in doing it. You know, he doesn't have any money. He never will. He's a fucking loser." And I want him to know that, and I want everyone else who knows him to know what a piece of shit loser he is. I want to call him out. That's what I'm doing. And in the end, he will kill himself. I think you're wrong about him. Yeah, I know you know him well, but I really worked closely with him for 6 whole years, and he's a weak man. You know, he doesn't have the fortitude that you do. You see it there, but you think you see it, but it's really just an exterior. He's a very, very weak guy. A very sensitive soul. He's a coward. You know, he has no honor. And I think, quite frankly, for his own sake, you know, for his own soul, it's for the best. And I think he will, in the end. When, I don't know. But he will, in the end, opt to kill himself. And I think it's a bit sad. I'm not going to expend time and energy. It's not for any monetary compensation so much as just the issue of accountability and the fact that he thinks he can still fuck with me. I won't take it. I won't tolerate that. And if you do speak with him here 3 times a year, I think you should make it very clear to him that you know what he's done. And it's important that we all tell people who commit transgressions that we say, hey, you know what? This isn't okay. Even if it's none of our business. I do think it is. A lot of things are our business. You know, again, I don't think you should be an arbiter in this. But, you know, I tried calling him and emailing him, you know, hundreds of times, leaving messages on voicemail and through his interns and his secretaries. And, you know, he just puts up an email block and doesn't want to deal with shit. And I'm not going to take any time and effort to chase this piece of shit anymore. But I'm not going to take this bending over. He needs to be held accountable. I'm holding him accountable. And I'm not going to cut any deals with him. I'm not going to let him off the hook. He needs to pay the full fucking amount. Period. He could have resolved this shit 4 fucking years ago. I made a very generous offer. And we came to terms that we were going to iron it out, and by mid-February he was going to send an agreement, and he didn't. 4 fucking years ago. Do you know that I'm still paying, just now, I just paid my bills this weekend, I'm still paying $100 a month for a phone bill he racked up 10 years ago. February of 2005. We're trying to do an oil deal. He was in Sweden, living in my home for a couple months. I'm still paying that shit. He's never ever paid for anything. I never ever made one dime in 6 years. And he made, I think, over $350,000 he stole from the company coffers. And, you know, and he insisted on keeping the company and all the money that was invested in it. He owes those people money. And he won't talk to them. He won't sign anything with them. He won't email them. He won't answer them. It's just so incredibly unethical and immoral. Anyway. I think I got my point across, and I appreciate you at least responding to that. You've at least responded to me, David. Thank you. It was important for me to. I mean, it wasn't a question of getting it off my chest. I mean, I've talked to loads of people, other victims, about this, and when the shit hit the fan, you know, 5 years ago, when I realized what he was doing, you know, and how badly he was ripping people off and reneging on agreements and misappropriating funds and stuff, I sought professional counsel, and no, I really had to take a long, hard look at myself. How on earth I got myself into this? How could I go from, I was supposed to be doing humanitarian related pioneering business of doing well by doing good, and all of a sudden I was mired in some fucking gang war, So thanks for listening and for having responded. I do appreciate that. And again, I'm sorry I never read your book about Stefan, but really it's because I'm not going to let that guy live rent-free in my head. I don't want to expend time, energy on him. It took loads and loads. I spent 10,000 hours building up a company with a guy who then won't let me walk away from it. Constantly making me pay his costs, his expenses. It's nuts. And yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I do hope that we can meet again sometime, and under more pleasant circumstances. Hope things are going well for you. All right, take care of yourself, Dave.